Hey there, welcome to my podcast, My Formative Years 1 to 40. I'm going to be talking about different things that I've kind of gone through growing up. Maybe some of you can relate, maybe some of you can learn, maybe some of you will just, go, what the hell's her problem? But if you stay tuned, you'll find out. so, um, anyways, to sit down, pull up a drink, or as I do when I'm listening to podcasts, I usually clean or scrub or do laundry. I don't mind doing laundry or ironing. Yes, I still like to iron. Um, so I was born in the 70s, kind of grew up in the late 70s, the 80s, started having my own kids in the 90s. And boy, have times changed. And as I've gotten older, I just started thinking about these different moments in my life that kind of like cemented that, or as we would say, that are crossroad. um, I like to call them pivotal moments in my life, because at the time I didn't realize how important that moment, that situation, that decision, whether I made the decision or somebody else made the decision, and how that was going to affect me, inform me in my years of growing up. I still feel like I'm growing up. I'm in my early to mid 50s. Okay, I'm early 50s. Um, and I still feel like I'm growing up. I tell my son all the time that, hey, remember when we were growing up? We were growing up. I was 19 when I had him. I was just a baby. But at the time, you couldn't have told me that. But there are some times that, I look back at my life and I wasn't sure, getting back with this, just that there were so many different things as I was growing up that really kind of formed who I am today, that I didn't realize it at the time, and I didn't realize how big these things were in my life. It's so one funny story well, I think it's funny. Um, you know, my mother was very young, in the 70s when she had me, and she had my two younger brothers. And something that we would do is cruise. I grew up in the Pacific Northwest, predominantly in Washington State, and the boat races were held yearly in Columbia Park on the Columbia River as I was growing up. And one of the things that my very, very young mother did, I should clarify that she was, late teen, early 20s. Um, and at that time, when you had boys, the teaching was, you need to get a dad. You need to get a man in those boys' life to raise those boys, to help you with those boys. It wasn't necessarily the cultural teaching at that time to encourage the women to raise the men to be men. So, but I harass my mom about this story all the time. So please understand, when I share with you, it is not to badmouth her or anything. This, I just look back at the different times. So at that time, she used to Columbia, she used to cruise Columbia Park looking for our new daddy. And so, I mean, it was the thing to do. Everybody, you would see cars cruising up and down Columbia Park. At one end, there was a little like mini mart, and if we were good, um, which entailed us hiding on the floorboard so that way our potential new daddy didn't see that she had three kids. And so I remember even at that young age, just like looking at her going, why would I don't understand that thinking. I don't even know that I don't even know that I was in school at that time. And, or if I was, it was very early. So as a mother now, I understand. As an adult and having an adult son, I understand, the concern with marrying somebody, a man or a woman that has, three little out of control children, because we were out of control. So yes, I got to sit in the front seat. My brothers were in the back, jumping all over because we didn't have seat belts on. But I don't remember this being an awful time. It was just a formative time. It was something that the kids did at that time in the 70s was cruising the park. And, if we were good, like I said, and we ducked down on the floorboard to deceive our potential new daddy or hook up, there were those too, um, uh, we would get an ice cream. And we'd go to the little mini mart and we'd get an ice cream. And I always pick what are those ones called? They have the ice cream cone, and then there's like vanilla, and then they have the hard chocolate over drumsticks. That's what they're called, drumsticks. And then I think this was pre the caramel in the middle because that would have been my most favorite. Um, but I would always be very disappointed if the drumstick didn't have the peanuts on the outside. That was like my favorite part. And occasionally, if we had been super good and mom had been able to, meet a potential, a prospect, we'd get to go and play at one of the little park areas. And if you're from the 70s, you would know, okay, those hot freaking metal slides. And we didn't even care. We did not even care. We like get up there. I remember my brothers, we'd crawl up there and we're like, we know it's going to be hot. But for the most part, we didn't wear shorts. We were just wearing jeans all the time. I was just talking about this with one of my clients today, side trail, because I do hair. And so one of my clients had come in today and we were talking about that. And he said, I don't, in the 70s, I just don't remember a lot of us wearing shorts. He goes, I always wore the jeans. Of course, the women, they had like the Daisy Dukes or um, the shorty shorts. I can't even, I think they're called Daisy Dukes. That might have been 80s. I don't remember. But anyways, um, so I was just really, at that time, to me, that was normal life. I didn't think any different of it. I didn't think less of my mother. I thought it was like a little game. Um, so it was there were times that I would get, and I remember being pissed off at my mom. If she would, meet up with a fella, and they were out whatever in the woods, and here we are. I would just get so upset, and I would tell her, it's, I guess I ran the home. But it was at that time, like, we would go off and play over at the river and everything, and without supervision. And I look at that now and think, I would never let my kids go and play by a river by themselves. You know, so it was just it's interesting to me because she wasn't the only person doing that. I mean, that was some of that, and I want to say teen culture because she really was a teen. So again, this is not to bash on my mother. Please don't disrespect her. It's just this is not it. This is my memories, my perception, and how it impacted me. And so still to this day, I'll drive if and when I speak with her, I'll say, "Hey, mom, remember when we'd cruise down Columbia Park?" And in all fairness, she did meet one of my daddies there, my stepdad that I called dad for years, and in for all intents and purposes, I think I'm saying that correctly. Um, he is my dad. Um, Not a great one, but he fulfills some of that role, if you will. That's a whole nother podcast we can get into another time. But she did. And when she didn't think I would remember that, and I said, no, this was, you told us you were looking for our new daddy. So when you met him, because I remembered that she had dated or gone on a date with his buddy, and they happened to, what I thought was what it, like coincidence, running meeting at the store at the same time. And I remember him introducing my mom to my future stepdad. So, yes. So I guess cruising through Columbia Park worked. You know, I was just, so I look back at that now and I laugh because again, like I said, I didn't feel that was a horrible thing at all. There were moments in that scenario that I was very angry with my mother about, and I won't discuss the details in depth by any means. However, she was young. I mean, who of us didn't do stupid crap when we were 19? Um, I mean, I know I did. I got married spring break of my senior year. I wasn't even 19. I don't recommend it. I do not recommend it. Um, but so this is what I'm talking about. Some of those just formative moments that just you kind of sitting there and just it kind of hits you, and you're like, wow, definitely not something that would happen today. Not in this day and age. I grew up believing that by 25 our brain was pretty much hardwired, right? And it may have been the popular teaching at the time. That may have been what was supported at that time. I don't know why I believed that. But as I started learning more, I see that, our brains were right. We can, so much can change when we change these habits and we make these decisions to change and move forward in our own personal growth or whatever we need to. I've got some bad habits that I need to get rid of. I just had like several of these little fun sized Snicker bars as I was trying to figure out how to get this going here. Um, but as we start changing that, our brain's starting right. I think it's the coolest thing ever. If I could be a neuroscientist, I would do something like that. I just think the brain is just so amazing. Well, I don't know that I want to go to school that long. But speaking of school, as I ramble on to another topic, um, I am back in school. I started just I think last fall or spring. I can't remember which. Um, and I just started with one basic class because I wasn't sure that I could, I've been out of school for so long. I wasn't sure that I could handle it. I did that class and, then got into some other classes. I thought, oh, maybe I should go into like criminology. I thought doing like the DNA, like forensic DNA and forensic genealogy. I think that would be amazing. There's a couple of cold cases that are personal to me, and I would love to be a part of having that stuff um, solved. And so I did take the intro to criminology, and um, the next step would have been to go to the next class as well as do like an internship. Um, However, I have a very, very sensitive sense of smell. I mean, it is bad. And then when that gag reflex kicks in, oh, forget it, we're not solving any crimes. We will not solve crimes because I will contaminate it. And the only thing I can think of, and I'm going to just tell you right now, this podcast, my formative years, 1 to 40, you're going to see everything that I got through to me. So I tend to just kind of blah and just say it straight out, um, and then go, well, maybe I shouldn't have said that. So I should have thought that one through a little bit more. It is something that I'm continuing to work on because I do want to use my words wisely. Um, so unless you mess with my kids, and then all bets are off. But so these are some of the things I started rambling. So we talked about, my husband and I, we talked about what an internship would look like. And so I read up on the description of it, and I would be dealing with crime scenes and decay. And the professor that I had in that class, she had me read a book. Oh, it's an amazing book. If you're thinking about going into criminology, I highly recommend the book Never Suck a Dead Man's Finger. I want to say that's what it's called. I want to pull up my Amazon real quick, but I believe that's what it's called. It is a fabulous book. She is hilarious. She is downright real. You feel like you're right there with her. Her descriptions are so good. Um, so I'm reading this book, and as I'm reading this book, I'm going, wait a minute. Wait a minute. If somebody's BO, and I'm not talking about like, well, yeah, necessarily about that, hey, I worked out and now I've got some BO. I'm talking about that you is nasty as hell and you need to go clean all your fupa, you need to clean your pits, you need to wash your breath. I mean, we're talking about nasty ear holes. Oh, just we're talking about that kind of stuff. I will literally start vomiting. And I can't stop. I mean, I just oh, yeah. So I made the wise decision, my formative years. Now this is beyond 40 though. This will be my next session. My next session of podcast will be my formative years, 60 to 100. Let's have a drink. Okay, so we're talking about never suck a dead man's finger. Here's what I love about her. She is so real. And then I saw a video that she had done talking about what it was about. And I don't want to just really get her book. It's an amazing book if you're considering it, or if you know somebody that is interested in criminology. I highly recommend that book. It is not for the faint of heart. So, not for the faint of heart. So, but very interesting, very well written, and there you have it. We made the formative decision. This is where, thank you for your patience. I'm coming back to what my point was. My point was, this was a formative decision because going into criminology was not for me. Oh man, it would have been a mess. CSI, just messing up the thing. So, anyways, yeah, so let me see. What can I tell you about me? Some of my things here. I've been married. I'm on my third marriage. And this is truly the last one. I mean, I'm 150 million years old. So, or as my oldest daughter likes to say, I'm so old I sat behind Jesus in the second grade. Oh, that quick wit. Um, yeah. So this is some of the things I was talking about. These different things that have happened, they cause who we are, our beliefs, what our thought process is. I think one of the things that I'm really trying to get through is my self-talk. It's gotten so much better. It really has. Because when you grow up in a home, and this is pretty well known, I grew up in a home. Again, um, I just want to put that caveat in there. Mother was young. She went through a lot of stuff. And so this is not about bashing her, because I can't say that I would have done things differently had I been in the situations that she was in. But all too often, I was told, you ruined my life. I wish you would have never been born. I hate you. And those were really hard to hear. When I hit about 14, I went into foster care. And the most brutal thing in foster care wasn't necessarily the beatings that I got from a couple of my foster homes. It was their affirmations, their reaffirming of what my mother would say to me. And they would say things to me, like, no wonder why your mom doesn't like you. I don't blame her for getting rid of you. And you know what that does to a kid? It just crushes you. It just crushed me. Like literally, I had been fighting the survival and trying to get out. And I mean, I remember being at a young age knowing it, I have to survive. It's me. I'm the parent. I have to make sure my brothers are safe. Nobody ever said those words to me. It was something I believed, and I made choices based on that. Not good choices. Not good choices. However, that first night, and I don't know if you guys have ever can even relate to this, that first night in foster care was probably, and probably still today, the loneliest I have ever felt. It literally, it was a feeling from, I mean, just to the deepest depths of my being, that I wasn't good enough. I wasn't good enough, that my parents didn't want me. I wasn't good enough. I couldn't even kill myself right because I thought taking 10 aspirins would, end the suffering. Um, Foster homes couldn't take me for the longest time, so I was in the um, teenage inpatient for suicide for 3 weeks because they had no place for me. But what that's communicated to me at that age was, see, your parents were right. Your parents were right. Just give me one moment. I'm sure that many of you can relate to that. I remember laying on the top bunk in that foster home and just so scared, so alone. And I just want you to know, if any of you have that in your life, and that is a formation in your brain, a pivotal point. How can it not be a pivotal point, right? I just want to communicate to you that you are important. You are loved. And the person or the people who said those things to you were broken. There's no excuse. I'm not going to make excuses for them. They're responsible for their own shit, and they need to address that. But to those of you that are just wounded to the core and just don't see a light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm not going to preach at you. I want to be very clear. I'm not going to preach at you. There is. It's not easy by any means. But you keep moving forward. And you use that pain. And here's what I used to do. I used to run. If there was going to be pain involved, emotional pain, I didn't care about the physical pain. I grew up a fighter. I still think I can fight. I can't. I like to think I can, but, no. um, but what I say now is lean. Lean into that pain. Embrace it. Deal with it. And heal. I couldn't heal because I was, we don't just have the fight or flight. I think there's that fight, flight, and is it the fear? There's one more. There used to only be the two, but I just was talking with my EMDR therapist recently, a couple weeks ago, about that, and he said there's one, there's a different one. Usually most people are fight or flight, but then there's another one. I can't remember what it is. I apologize. But I went into fight, and I was gonna fight, and I did, and I would move. I would be kicked out of foster home after foster home every 5 months. And here's what I would do. And I knew, and I mean, I was a good student. I mean, I was safe at school. I was safe. I had food. I knew that I could get my grilled cheese breakfast. Oh my gosh, were not the grilled cheese sandwiches in the 80s for breakfast like the very best? I loved them. Squirrel. Um, but what would happen is I would go to school every day. I would do my homework. I would do my chores. I would obey my foster parents. And then about 5 months in, as the foster parents are going, "Oh my gosh, you're the most perfect child, and I just can't believe this," and blah blah blah, and we love you, we want to adopt you. And I went, "Oh really? You want to adopt me? Me, who my own parents don't want? Me, who has ruined my mother's life? Me, who I'm not good enough for my mother to have pictures of me up in the house, but she's gonna have pictures of my little brothers. Um, Me, you want to adopt me? Let's see." And I would do something out of the extreme. I mean, just completely out of the extraordinary. I mean, out of the normal for me. And they would be like, "What in the world?" And instead of them trying to understand where I was at, I would get kicked out. I don't fault them. I really don't. Um, Not all of them. There were some really wonderful foster homes. I went into foster care about 14 until I aged out, or until I got married spring break of my senior year. Um, but I lost my train of thought. I would move about every 5 months, and in that time, I can honestly say to you, I had absolutely one absolutely amazing foster home. I mean, just amazing. Um, and I won't say their name, just, well, number one, it's a very common name. Um, and, they may not want me to share, but I don't even know if they remember me. That's so long ago. But I lived in this town called Pasco, Washington, and my my normal everyday foster mom was going to Hawaii, and so we had respite care. I don't know if some of you guys may or may not know what that is. Respite care is when the foster parents basically need a break, go on vacation, and they're not going to take their foster kids with them. Um, so I went to this other home, and I was friends with the son from high school, and so I was like really cool. I was like, "Oh, that's so cool," because he was a little bit younger than me, so he's kind of like a little brother. And we'd play. They had like an arcade machine in there downstairs, and what I loved about her, and I want to say she is the first person that ever did this with me. Nope, my grandma did. And my grandma's is my hero. She just is an amazing woman. But this foster mom, her first name was Lisa. I believe it was Lisa. She sat me down and she said, "Okay, let me go over the rules and the expectations of our home. And you have a choice. You can stay here. You can agree to these and come, or you don't have to. We can find somewhere else for you." And so she sat down and she's like, "We have dinner as a family. That includes you. Your boyfriend cannot be here every single night. And, you will help with breakfast or, meals like dinner time and stuff like that." And I mean, this was like, this was foreign to me. I'm like, "What are you talking about? Like, my boyfriend can't be here every night. What? He's the only one that's ever been here." Um, and But what she also did, she had taken another teen girl for respite. And what she did when I told her, because I had walked in on this girl that was sharing a room with me and she was trying on my clothing. And so I was like irritated, but I was afraid to cause problems because I didn't want to get kicked out so soon. I had to wait 5 months, not 2 weeks. So I went upstairs and Lisa's having me. We're going to call her Lisa just for now. Um, she's teaching me how to make, she's like, canned beans are not actually refried. Let me teach you how to do it. So she has me cut up tomatoes and put the beans in there and actually fry them up, and best beans ever. Um, and so as we're doing that, I said, so the new girl was like trying on my clothes and stuff. And should I just put my clothes somewhere else? Because of course I'm thinking it's my fault. If she's doing something violating my space, it's my fault. And my foster mom, she sat her, I don't know what, she had a spatula or something. She just sat it down and she just looked right at me in the face and she says, "No, I'll take care of this." And I said, "Oh, no, 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 no. No, please, no." And she goes, "No, those are your clothes. Those are your belongings. And nobody has the right to touch them unless you give them permission." I've never heard that, because my body was, I didn't get to say no. If my body was violated as a girl, I didn't get to say no to my parents if, I questioned anything. If I don't like fish, I still don't eat fish because I can't stand it. Um, I couldn't say no on that. And so hearing that my stuff, I have a say over, that was probably the first time. And I begged to go back to that foster home. I begged. But what I appreciated about her, because she said no, but what she said was, the reason I'm saying no is because I've already committed to the girl that she had that had been living there but was on vacation. So her foster daughter went on vacation, then I was able to be there for respite. So she's like, "I've had this foster daughter and I can only have one full time with our lifestyle, and this is what I've committed to." And it just, and still to this day, I respect her so much for that, because they had solid, safe boundaries. We had a bedtime, and it wasn't super early. Like, she didn't talk to us like we were kids. But the other thing she did was she sat me down, she gave me all the rules, expectations, and then she took me shopping. And she's like, "I get money for you to be here. And so while you are here, let's go get you a whole outfit. You get what you want, shirt, skirt, whatever you want." And so I did. I mean, I was just like, "I can get whatever I want." She said, "Absolutely." And of course, mini skirts and sweaters and whatever were super popular back then. And so I did. And I just was blown away. And I said, "Well, don't you keep that money for yourself?" She's like, "This money is for me to help take care of you. When was the last time you ever went shopping for a whole outfit?" And I'm like, I've never done that. Like, I think when I turned 13 years old, because my parents forgot my birthday, I got a pair of brand new oh, they were so brand new. They were stiff. Do you remember that? Oh, and some of you may not know these jeans. If you're from maybe the Pacific Northwest, in the 80s, they had a pair of jeans called Seattle Blues. And if I can find a pair, I'll stick them in the link. I mean, I'll stick them in, whatever down below, whatever says down below, um, in the comment area. That's what, what's an English word for it? Uh, but they were called Seattle Blue jeans. And oh, they were so cool. Oh, I love them so much. Some of them had, not the Zenith jeans, because I think the Zenith jeans had like the sparkle in it. But the Seattle Blues, oh my gosh, they were so cool because they had two little hearts. And if I remember correctly, it had like a line on the pocket, and then it had a solid heart stitched, and then one that wasn't solid, just the outline of the heart. Oh, and you can get them in different colors. You get like pink heart or purple or whatever. And I'm just like, oh, everybody at my middle school had those. I wanted them so bad. And my mom tried to explain to me the value of the dollar and said, "Are you sure you want to get the brand new jeans?" Because they felt so bad. And I'm not going to lie, I kind of milked it. I'm like, "You guys forgot my 13th birthday? What is wrong with you?" Well, I know what was wrong with them. Partying all night. So I forgot it. Um, and then they took me there, and my mom's like, "We can go to Goodwill and you can get a lot of jeans." And I'm like, "Yeah, a lot of jeans that you will wear." Because my first day, my first day of 7th grade, oh, My mother made me wear skin tight. I mean, they were tight as crap. Crap on a turd. They were so tight. And then they were like huge bell bottoms, like those elephant ear bell bottoms. And then, and then to top it off, it had rainbows on the pocket, like a rainbow with a star and stuff like that. And then, to make it even better, I got to wear this Victorian lace, like it was like a cream colored shirt, and it had lace here. It had a higher collar, it had a lace here, and then it had long sleeves, and then it had lace here. And that's what I had to wear for school. My first day in a new school, middle school, in seventh grade. So, no, I did not want her flippin' jeans. I'm like, no, 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 no. So then we did go. I don't even remember where we were living at the. Well, we were living in this little itty bitty town that maybe had like 12 people, called, geez, Beverly, Washington. And but I went to school in Royal City, and so wherever we went shopping, I don't know where. It might have been Portland, Oregon. But they had the Seattle blue jeans, and oh, let me tell you what, I thought I was so cool. Just, and it wasn't even like it was that hoity-toity. Like, it was okay. I'm not the weird kid anymore. I'm wearing, even if it was just like a T-shirt or something, and I'm just wearing that. I wasn't drawing attention to the fact that I was this really weird child. So, um, yeah, I don't know if you guys have any stories like that, but highly, highly formative situations there. So, I mean, I took it a little to the extreme when my oldest daughter was, geez, she might have been in sixth grade. And she had really long legs and she was really thin. And I mean, to find jeans that would fit her properly, I think we had to pay like $90 a pair of jeans. And I'm like, you know what? No, this is what we're doing because if they're gonna fit her, I don't want her to feel the way I did, you know. Um, so, anyhow, this kind of gives you a little bit of an insight on what what my, yeah, podcast is going to be about.